So, here's the uncomfortable truth about Meghan Markle. And trust me, it's not the glossy version her PR would like you to believe. You've probably noticed it too. 1 minute, Meghan and Harry were Hollywood's newest power couple. Fresh, glamorous, the it duo everyone wanted at their parties. And now, Meghan Markle has gone from being the Duchess turned Hollywood darling to an almost radioactive figure in Tinseltown. And the fall didn't come out of nowhere. The warning signs were always there, if you were paying attention. When Meghan and Harry first landed in California, the reception was unreal. Celebrity neighbours popped champagne. High-powered execs whispered about fresh opportunities. The Sussexes were being marketed as the next golden pair of Los Angeles. Imagine the prestige of hosting literal royalty at your dinner table. The invitations flowed like wine. They weren't just guests, they were trophies. But fast forward just a few short years and the glitz is gone. Meghan Markle is no longer treated like a coveted ally. Instead, she's a liability. She walks into a room and people don't think star power, they think tabloid baggage. The question is, what happened? How does someone go from red carpets and royal weddings to being politely, or not so politely, avoided? Here's where it gets messy. At the heart of this downfall is Meghan's own belief that forces, yes, shadowy forces, are deliberately working to sabotage her. She's reportedly convinced that Princess Catherine, backed by the full royal machine, has been quietly running campaigns against her Hollywood ventures. Every time Meghan tries to launch something, she sees headlines dominated by someone else. A Taylor Swift engagement, a blockbuster movie star revelation, a celebrity scandal timed just close enough to steal her spotlight. Coincidence? Not to Meghan. To her, it's proof of a conspiracy, a carefully managed effort to eclipse her and keep her in the shadows. But here's the problem. Critics argue that Meghan's paranoia says more about her than her so-called enemies. Taylor Swift isn't timing her personal life around Meghan Markle's business calendar. She announced her engagement because, well, she's Taylor Swift and the world revolves around her, not Meghan. Hollywood operates on its own chaos, not Meghan's victim narrative. And yet, Meghan can't shake the belief that powerful players are working against her. And maybe, just maybe, that's projection. Because let's not forget, Meghan herself once embraced those very same dark PR strategies. In her early Hollywood days, she worked with Sunshine Sachs, a PR firm infamous for its aggressive tactics. They shaped narratives, fed gossip outlets, and knew exactly how to spin stories to build up their clients or tear rivals down. Meghan was fine with it when those tricks helped her climb. But now that she feels sidelined, every setback becomes proof that someone else is turning the same tricks against her. It's a vicious cycle. Once you know how manipulation works, you start assuming everyone else is doing it too. But Hollywood insiders offer a much simpler explanation for Meghan's fading star. Trust. Or rather, a lack of it. When Meghan and Harry sat down with Oprah, then doubled down with their Netflix documentaries, and Harry's memoir, Spare, they crossed a line. They proved they were willing to cash in on the most intimate details of their royal family for millions. And in Hollywood, that's a giant red flag. If you'll spill your own family secrets on camera, what's stopping you from selling out a celebrity friend? That doubt spread fast. Agents and PR managers quietly began advising their clients. Don't get photographed with her, don't partner with her, don't risk your brand. And just like that, the invitation started drying up. Endorsements? Not happening. Collaborations? Vanished. Meghan went from the center of the room to orbiting the edges. From trophy guest to unwanted distraction. And it wasn't just Hollywood execs pulling away. Meghan's own history with friendships made things worse. From British TV personalities like Lizzie Cundy and Millie Mackintosh to once close ally Piers Morgan, Meghan has built a reputation for discarding people the moment they're no longer useful. Even her longtime best friend, Jessica Mulroney, reportedly faded into the background after Meghan cemented her royal status. And in an industry like Hollywood, where everyone knows everyone, that kind of pattern spreads like wildfire. If you've burned allies before, people assume you'll burn them again. It's why Meghan started getting labelled as toxic. Not because of some royal conspiracy, but because of a paper trail of broken friendships and failed collaborations. And here's the brutal reality. Meghan was never a true A-lister. Before Harry, she wasn't a household name. Her biggest role was on Suits, a show that gave her modest recognition, but never catapulted her into global stardom. She wasn't Angelina Jolie, she wasn't Beyoncé. Hollywood tolerated her ambition when she had the novelty of being a duchess attached to her. But that shine faded fast. And when it did, the lack of substance became obvious. Critics say Meghan embodies the worst of Hollywood hustling: big ambition, constant drama, but not enough talent to back it up. And in Hollywood, failure sticks harder than success. Every flop adds weight. Every misstep makes you a bigger gamble. But Meghan refuses to accept that. Instead, she pins every rejection, every silence, every closed door on shadowy enemies. She casts herself as a modern-day Princess Diana, persecuted for daring to challenge the crown. But here's where the comparison breaks down, and this part makes people furious. Diana's tragic story was one of relentless media persecution, a woman literally hunted until the day she died. Meghan, on the other hand, walked away from royal duties by choice. She lives in a mansion in Montecito. Equating her career struggles with Diana's tragedy feels not just exaggerated, but grotesque. And yet, Meghan leans into it. She insists on weaving herself into that tragic mythology. And the effect? It doesn't just damage her own reputation, it bleeds into Harry's. Friends of the royal family worry that Meghan's constant references to Diana's fate have worsened Harry's mental health, stirring old paranoia and resentment. For William, watching his brother consumed by those narratives is both painful and infuriating. So instead of becoming Hollywood royalty, Meghan's story feels more like a slow-motion collapse. She wanted the glitz of celebrity and the influence of royalty. But in chasing both, she lost grip on each. Hollywood doesn't need her. The monarchy doesn't protect her. And the whispers of paranoia and betrayal now follow her everywhere she goes. And if you think that's bad, wait until you hear what happened when she tried to land endorsements. Because rejection from one particular legend sent shockwaves across Hollywood. And that's where things get brutal. Don't go anywhere. In part 2, we're diving into Meghan's failed attempts to woo the biggest names in entertainment, how she burned bridges with the Beckhams and the Clooneys, and why even the Kardashians wanted no part in her Hollywood reinvention. This is where Meghan's downfall goes from embarrassing to catastrophic. And before we continue, make sure you hit subscribe, drop a comment below, and let me know. Do you think Meghan Markle is being sabotaged by the royals, or is she sabotaging herself? So, let's pick up where we left off. Meghan Markle had already gone from being Hollywood's shiny new duchess to a woman most insiders quietly avoided. But what came next? That's when things went from awkward to humiliating. Let's start with the moment that insiders say broke Meghan. She had her heart set on collaborating with Dolly Parton. Yes, the country music queen herself. Meghan envisioned a project that would combine activism, women's empowerment, and, of course, Meghan's voice at the centre. But Dolly's team? They didn't just say no, they didn't even entertain the idea. Dolly Parton, one of the most generous collaborators in the industry, flat out refused. Why? Because Dolly, a woman whose entire brand is kindness and authenticity, wanted nothing to do with Meghan's baggage. For Meghan, it was crushing. She didn't just lose a dream collaboration, she lost credibility. If Dolly wouldn't touch her, who would? That rejection rippled through the industry like wildfire. Suddenly, people weren't just avoiding Meghan out of caution. They were actively backing away, not wanting their names linked to hers. And then came the Kardashians. You would think, of all people, the Kardashians might welcome Meghan into their empire. They understand controversy. They thrive on it. But here's the twist. Even they didn't want her. Behind closed doors, Kris Jenner reportedly made it clear. Aligning with Meghan was bad business. Too much drama, too much unpredictability, too much risk. If the Kardashians, the queens of monetizing scandal, won't touch you, you're officially radioactive. Then there were the Beckhams. Once upon a time, Meghan and Harry sat front row at Beckham events. Victoria and David were seen as allies, even friends. But that relationship imploded when Meghan allegedly accused Victoria of leaking stories to the press. The Beckhams were insulted, furious. And just like that, the friendship was over. In Hollywood, that kind of rift doesn't stay private. Word spreads. Meghan had alienated yet another power couple. This time, one of the most respected duos in global celebrity culture. But perhaps the most damning fallout came with the Clooneys. George and Amal Clooney had once opened their home, extended their influence, tried to welcome Meghan into their circle. But the deeper Meghan leaned into victimhood, the more the Clooneys pulled away. They didn't want to be props in her endless PR war with the royals. They didn't want their legacy tainted by association. By the time Meghan realised she was losing them, it was already too late. At this point, Meghan was running out of lifelines. But she still had one card left: streaming deals. Remember the headlines? Netflix, Spotify, tens of millions of dollars. On paper, it looked like a new chapter. But behind the scenes, a disaster. Spotify pulled the plug after just one season of archetypes, with execs openly mocking Meghan and Harry as grifters. That wasn't tabloid gossip. That came straight from Spotify insiders. Netflix, meanwhile, has quietly shifted its focus away from Meghan, disappointed by lackluster performance and mounting costs. Their first big docuseries had shock value, but after that, nothing. No follow-ups, no hit shows, no groundbreaking projects. Meghan and Harry had burned their audience in record time. And here's the kicker. Hollywood doesn't forget failure. The industry runs on momentum. If your projects flop, your phone stops ringing. For Meghan, the silence has been deafening. So, now, Meghan lives in Montecito, surrounded by wealth but stripped of influence. She's isolated, paranoid, and reportedly still convinced there's a royal conspiracy to destroy her. But the reality is much simpler and far harsher. Meghan isn't being sabotaged by the crown. She's being rejected by Hollywood because Hollywood has decided she's not worth the gamble. And that's the real tragedy. Meghan Markle had every advantage: beauty, status, a global platform, connections most people could only dream of. But she squandered it all by chasing fame the wrong way, burning bridges, spinning conspiracies, and alienating allies. Instead of becoming Hollywood royalty, she's become Hollywood's cautionary tale. And the final insult? While Meghan fades into the background, the very people she once saw as rivals, Princess Catherine, Taylor Swift, the Kardashians, are thriving. They don't need to scheme against her. They don't need to plot her downfall. her collapse was self-inflicted. So when the history books are written, Meghan's chapter in Hollywood won't be about a woman destroyed by the monarchy. It'll be about a woman who had everything and lost it. Not because of enemies, but because of herself. And that's the exposé. But now I want to hear from you. Is Meghan Markle a victim of relentless sabotage, or has she simply burned too many bridges to survive in Hollywood? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading them. And if you want more brutal deep dives like this, don't forget to subscribe. Because trust me, this story isn't over. Not even close.